Hey guys, I wanted to talk about something that a lot of men and women go through, and something that I had some issues with. You see me retching in my seat because I'm a little uncomfortable talking about it, but abandonment issues. Let me tell you how I dealt with them and what I experienced, and then you can decide how it pertains to your life, if it does. But I'm sure if you haven't gone through it, it's something that you've dealt with. Maybe you dated somebody that had abandonment issues. Well, for myself, I didn't know my father growing up. So I felt abandoned immediately because I didn't have a dad. I felt like I wasn't worth anything. You know, why would my dad leave me? Because if I was lovable, if I was easy to be loved, he would have stayed and he would have loved me. He left. So obviously I wasn't worthy of his love, right? Now, as I grow up, my mom and I had issues. So again, I felt like I'm nothing. I'm worthless. I felt abandoned again. Mom was always working. She had to provide. You know, she was a single mom. So it was just me. I continue to grow older. I am promiscuous as a teen. So I was looking for love, that validation and love in relationships with guys. And none of them loved me, but I thought they did. You know, when you lay down with somebody and have sex with them, that means love. When you're a teenager, that's what you think anyway. So anyway, every time those relationships ended, it dug further into me. You know, it made me feel more and more abandoned. So I'm abandoned by my dad. And then I have relationship after relationship that fails because the relationships are not good relationships to begin with. So I feel abandoned every single time those relationships fail. Now, as I get older, I'm going through life and I was in the streets. I was hustling. I was selling drugs. I was running with the wrong crowd. I was the wrong crowd. But I ended up losing a lot of friends, you know, to murder. A lot of my friends were murdered. So in a year, I probably lost about 11 of my friends to gun violence. I watched one of my friends take his last breath. I watched another one of my friends die a couple months after that. So again, I feel abandoned. My friends are leaving me. My dad left me. These young men, because I'm a teenager, that I thought I loved, left me. And now all of my friends are leaving me. They're either dying, getting killed, or they're going to jail. The lifestyle I lead, that's what happens. You die, go to jail, or you get out, you know. So I got all these friends dying and going to jail. I got my dad who left me. I got a rocky relationship with my mom. And then I'm having kids. So I don't know how to communicate effectively with my children. So I'm embedding the same type of programming into them that I already was having issues dealing with. So now I continue to go through my life. I end up meeting a man and marrying him. A man I never should have married, but he's a good guy and we're friends today. Just, I never should have married him. I'll leave it like that. But anyway, so once I realized that I was in a volatile relationship, that I was in a relationship I shouldn't be in. We had domestic violence issues. There were some alcoholism issues. I stayed in that marriage and fought like hell to keep it. You know why? I thought because I loved him. I thought because we were married. But the real reason is because I didn't want to be let go of again. I didn't want to be abandoned again. I couldn't imagine him leaving me. So even though I knew that we weren't supposed to be together, I didn't want to not be with him. You know, like I didn't want him to abandon me. I had been abandoned by everybody. Nobody thinks I'm good enough to keep. Everybody keeps giving me away. My dad, well, mom gave me to foster care and detention centers. Did mom love me? I'm sure. Did my dad love me? I'm sure. But did those things happen to me? Yes. And did they make me feel like no one cared? Most definitely. So growing up, it was already an open wound. And every time I got into a different situation, it just poured salt in it. So by the time I was married, I didn't know the things that I know now. So I'm fighting like hell to keep a marriage with an alcoholic who was violent, who was abusing me, mentally, physically, emotionally. Is he a good guy? Yes. Was he a good husband? No. Either way, I ended up getting pregnant in the marriage. So the first time I got pregnant, I was about a month pregnant when my ex-husband came home intoxicated and proceeded to drown me in a bathtub. We had gotten into an argument, and he began to drown me. So I think I almost died because, you know, you see in the movies the white light and the sparkles. Well, I saw the white light, and it was very peaceful, and I felt calm, and I was like, okay, I guess this is it. I'm going to die now. And then my kids started screaming. They saved my life. The last thing I remember thinking was, oh, God, my kids. I didn't want the last thing my kids saw to be me in that bathtub floating. As big as I am, I don't know if I'd float, but seems right. So anyway, they screamed, and he let me go, and I got out the bathtub. So I don't know if it was a result of that or stress or just happen chance, you know, but I miscarried. My first miscarriage ever. And it was one of the worst experiences ever in my life. I don't know if people really understand how it feels to miscarry. If you're a woman and you've experienced it, then you know. But if you haven't, then it's a very hard thing to understand. As a woman, number one, you feel like something's wrong with you. Why weren't you able to give life? What was wrong with you that God took the baby from you, you know? Then the second thing is you were carrying a living person inside of you, and you watched the life be lost. That is hard to go through. And then to wake up every day and not have that living person inside of you anymore. I went into a fit of depression. I mean, I couldn't shake the thought that I wasn't pregnant, that my baby was not going to be a baby that I was planning for, that I actually wanted, because I told you I wanted the marriage. Anyway, about a year later, I ended up pregnant again. And this time I didn't really want to be pregnant. He and I were agreeing to separate. We were going our separate ways. And I didn't really want to be stuck with a baby and a baby's daddy, you know, again. So I prayed on it. I was like, God, you know, I'm not having an abortion. I'm not going to ask you to miscarry. I'm just going to say whatever your will is, let that be done. And I miscarried again. And this time I wasn't that sad. But there still were abandonment issues. I felt like, you know, the baby left me. I mean, as odd as it sounds and as crazy as it may seem, when you are used to people leaving you, whether it be through death or by will because they just don't want to be with you anymore, or by jail, or by, you know, you getting sent away to group homes, when you get used to that, you expect that everybody's going to leave. So one of two things happen. Either you, A, decide that you're not going to get close to people anymore. Not anybody. Not friends, not family, not coworkers, not church people. You are just going to stay all the way by yourself, because if you get close to somebody, they going to go away. So what's the point, right? Or two, you begin to cling to anything. You know, somebody says, hi, hey, we in love. Hey, you're cute. Yep, get married. Because you so badly crave to fill the void that has been created by your abandonment issues. I figured out I had abandonment issues. And I actually figured it out because a good friend of mine, Carrie Lewis, Carrie, if you're listening, sorry, I told everybody your name, whatever. But she said one day, you know, Beezy, a lot of people have abandonment issues. And she started talking about them. And I'm sitting there on the other line drinking wine like, oh my goodness, she's talking about me. Now, she really wasn't talking about me, but she was talking about me. So I said, okay, well, how do I deal with this? And I think the only way I could come to deal with it is to fill that void with God. To realize that people didn't let me go because I wasn't good enough. People let me go because they had to. My dad wasn't there because he didn't know how to be the dad that I needed him to be at the time. My mom put me in group homes or foster homes because I was out of control and she couldn't deal with me and my other three brothers while trying to maintain a job and keep things going. The relationships that ended in my teenage years were because I was not supposed to be in them. As I got older and was with my ex-husband, I was never supposed to marry him. So he didn't abandon me. He moved out the way. Because if I would have stayed with him, I would never meet who's still to come. The miscarriages. Those babies didn't abandon me. God didn't take those babies from me because I wasn't worthy of being their mother. Those babies are in heaven waiting on me to get there so I can see the little light-skinned faces, because God knew that it was too heavy a burden for me to bear to raise them by myself. He knew that my ex-husband and I were not going to make it. He knew the plans he had for my life, and he knew that it would be too much for me to raise the children I already have and the 2 that I would have had with my husband. So it's all about perspective. You know, you can allow the issues of people walking away from you to wear you down and make you feel like you're not worthy, you're not good enough, you're never going to be loved by anybody, but it couldn't be further from the truth. Today, I'm married to God. He still ain't got me no ring, but he provides in all other ways. I am married to God, and I plan on keeping him as long as he'll keep me. And I believe that to be forever. And then I think a guy's going to come and say, hey, God, mind if I borrow this one right here? And I'm all right when that happens. But I'm just, you know, I wanted to make sure that I talk to people today, because I think that a lot of people out here are dealing with abandonment issues, are feeling less than. You just feel like you don't belong, you're not worthy. Maybe you're the sister in the family that can't do nothing right. Maybe you're the brother in the family that's always screwing up. Anytime you come around, people looking at you like something, and you feel like it. Don't own that, man. Whatever you're going through, let it go. Whatever you've gone through to this point that makes you feel like you're not worthy, let it go. I promise. I talk with my hands, so please don't think I'm trying to show my nails off. Went through that the last video. But the point is, God has a major plan for everyone's life. He has given each of us a purpose. Each and everything you go through is something that's building you up to where you're going. It's like you got this tool belt on when you're born, and all your life, things happen to you. Well, those things are like your screwdriver, your hammer, your nail, you know, oh, your saw. I just wanted to say saw. I know you can't carry it. But either way, you put those tools on your tool belt so that by the time you get to the place where God has that thing for you to build, you have everything you need to build it. So today, if you've been let out, if you've been locked out, if you've been forgotten, if somebody has thrown you to the wolves and never came back to check and see if you were okay, know that today you are enough. Know that today God loves you. Know that there are people out there that are just waiting to cross paths with you because they're going to think you're amazing. And you are. But you got to realize that first. And if you feel a void, because you shouldn't feel one. But if you do, it's because you haven't allowed God to take that place yet. So I just wanted to say that today. I was actually thinking about my miscarriages and thinking about why I felt so badly about a lot of relationships that ended and why I take them to heart like I do. And that's why. So deep-seated stuff comes from your childhood. You got to learn to deal with it. Anyway, love you guys.